and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Miho with the Too Close to Call podcast series, joined, as always, by my co-host, Pags. And this is the Week 1 recap of the Intentional Grounding series, where we're talking NFL football. It's back, Pags!
Football's back! Bro, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are all covered for the next 20 weeks.
Hey, and if you want to throw a little bit of action in there, you got some Tuesday action coming at you eventually.
Late in the year, baby. Tuesday, they got you covered. Akron, Miami of Ohio.
Let's go.
Empty stadium and terrible football. It's great.
Oh, my gosh, man. But what a Sunday it was. We had a few blowouts, a few close games. We really had a little bit of everything going on.
For sure, but I think if we're doing our due diligence, we should start with the Thursday night game last week. The Chicago Bears and your Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, what'd you think of the
NFL 100?
And what'd you think of the NFL not having the Patriots open up after winning the Super Bowl?
I thought it was kind of great. I think that Goodell will do anything and everything to keep the Patriots off the forefront of the NFL, face of the NFL, and it's becoming petty because I even saw a clip of like the NFL 100. Here's everything that's happened in the last 100 years, and there wasn't a single thing of the greatest dynasty in the last 20 years. There wasn't a single clip of Tom Brady or Bill Belichick, anybody. And
oh, my God, dude. I missed that, man, but that's hysterical.
It's becoming petty, and Goodell just will do anything to keep them off of everything. That means NFL.
Right, and like you said, the excuse was the 100th season. I think it was the 100th game, 200th game.
99.
Yeah, they're going to end up playing 200 times, after this
Yep.
year and whatnot. But Packers-Bears, man, Aaron Rodgers, Mitchell Trubisky, a low-scoring affair. Hopefully you had the under on Thursday.
Yeah, man, I did not. I took the over,
and so it begins with Pagliero's predictions.
I did. As soon as the game started, I was like, what am I doing? These two teams didn't play any of their players in the preseason.
You were the guy that just said defense is always ahead of offense on the last podcast.
I know. Idiot. And Mitchell Trubisky is about what I thought he was. He stinks. The Bears are going to have a down year unless their defense can score points. I just don't understand what Matt Nagy's thought process was. You have David Montgomery. You have Tariq Cohen. And you're running Mike Davis out there for the majority of the game. And you run the ball maybe 10 times. Help your fucking quarterback to kick off the year. And you don't fucking run the ball at all.
Montgomery was impressive when he got his few touches, and Allen Robinson ended up having a nice stat line on my bench for fantasy football once again. But overall, dude, Trubisky just not sharp in his decision-making and his accuracy, and it just seemed to be more the same in Chicago.
Yeah, and I will give you this. It was an impressive showing by both sides of the D-line. Those D linemen got after it in that game. Those quarterbacks had no time. Everybody was in their face. It was an impressive showing by both defensive lines.
Welcome back to football. You remember the Super Bowl being a sucky offensive performance? Well, so is the kickoff game.
Yeah, they finally give us what we've been asking was, I just saw the Patriots play. I don't need to see the Patriots play right off the bat. Well, then the NFL's like, well, here's Bears-Packers. We're like, oh, thank you. And then it was the shithole of the game.
Shithole. Standard Thursday, just shitfest.
Yeah, but usually the Thursday night kickoff game is a pretty good one. I mean, 2 years ago, we had that shootout by the Chiefs and the Patriots. It was fun to watch. And then all of a sudden, people stop playing their players in the preseason, and then you get that.
And you get the first half of the first game is essentially the preseason.
No doubt. So, what game do you want to dive in first on Sunday? Because there were a bunch of them, and some of them were good, some of them not so great.
Yeah, I have them kind of here in order of time, 1 o'clock followed by the 4 o'clock. So we'll just roll down the list, and the first couple of them were the two blowouts of the weekend, man. You had the Titans whoop the Browns, and then the Ravens just smoked the Dolphins. So what were your takeaways there? Were you more impressed with the Titans and Ravens or disappointed by the Browns and Dolphins?
Well, let's start with the Ravens-Dolphins. I think this is an overreaction. I think the Dolphins have already mailed in the season. I think they're looking for their next great quarterback. Josh Rosen isn't it. He looked horrible. The Ravens looked impressive on defense. They got a new revamped defense. And you can't really discount what Lamar Jackson did out there. I mean, he was throwing the ball all over the place with Hollywood Brown fucking flying around looking like a young Deshaun Jackson out there. So, I mean, it was impressive. I mean, Mark Ingram looks like he's doing his thing, but I think the Dolphins are as bad as they showed on Sunday.
I think it was a combination of both, man. I don't remember off the top of my head what exactly my prediction was for the AFC North between the Steelers, Browns, and Ravens, but I certainly know after 1 week the Ravens are now at the top of that, followed by the Browns and Steelers both laying goose eggs out there, man. So I do think Baltimore could be that good now that, we've seen them practice against the Eagles and we saw that they were the real deal, kind of live and in person. And after watching week 1, man, Lamar Jackson, if he can sling it anywhere close to that, because I believe me and you didn't think he could. So we were part of the crew he was talking to when he said, hey, not bad for a running back.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, the Browns, Odell shows up in his all-orange Rolls Royce and then has a $250,000 Rolex on his fucking wrist while he's playing. It's like, what the hell is this guy doing? But I think the main story of that game is Baker really is kind of showing that sophomore slump right off the bat. The Titans got after him. Safety, 3 picks, 2 for touchdowns. Not the best showing Baker wants to start off the season with.
Yeah, that game I definitely think it was more the Browns sucking than the Titans being that good. I think the Titans are a solid team, but the Browns, that game should have at the very least been competitive. And with all the hype and hoopla that's been going on, to see them just get smacked in the face, man, I had to chuckle a little bit. Just go, fucking Cleveland, dude.
Was this the most hyped up game in Cleveland history? Being at home, the new vamp team.
Probably one of them.
They fucking roll that out, and Cleveland fans are like, oh, no. I don't think that they're going to be like that all year. I think they'll kind of right the ship. I think Baker's a good quarterback.
Well, they still haven't won an opening game in 20 years or whatever it was. They tied last year, and people were like, we didn't lose. Let's go.
It is what it is. I think we'll have a better showing out of the Browns next week. They got Monday night against the Jets, so hopefully you see better outcome for the Browns.
Yeah, you're going to have the opportunity, that's for sure, against a team like the Jets. But they're actually one of the next couple games. You had the Bills with the late fourth quarter comeback over those Jets. They rallied with 14 in the fourth, as well as the Vikings whooped up on the Falcons, man. The score wasn't as spread out as those previous 2 games we talked about, but it was 28-0 Vikings at one point. So what were your takes on the Vikings, Falcons, and Bills-Jets games?
Vikings looked impressive. Dalvin Cook seems to be back in his form that everybody expected before he tore his ACL. The Vikings are going to go as far as how Kirk Cousins plays, and we all know how he is kind of a roller coaster of a quarterback. So if their defense can continue to be as dominant as they showed in week 1, I think the Vikings have an outside shot of winning the NFC North. Falcons looked putrid. Their offensive line, they're supposed to have a new vamped offensive line. It looked bad. Matt Ryan didn't seem to be comfortable in the pocket at all. And with all those weapons and giving Julio a new contract, it sure didn't show it on the field on Sunday.
Yeah, I was definitely higher on the Falcons than I believe I should have been after that performance, man. It's I don't know. We'll really see in week 2 when the Eagles come to town if they truly have issues or if it was just kind of a week 1 tough road matchup for them. But Bills Jets, dude, I don't know if it matters. I guess whichever team wins those games is going to get to 6 or 7 wins instead of 3, 4, or 5. So good for the Bills, man. Good for Josh Allen. But at the end of the day, who really gives a shit? So moving on to some good matchups here, man. You had the Rams beat the Panthers, and then the Chiefs beat the Jaguars. What was your take on the NFC matchup, Rams over Panthers?
I think this is a classic. Every game's a tough game in the NFL. The Rams coming across the country to play the Panthers. Rams squeak it out. Goff looks pretty good. Rams defense looks decent. I think both these teams are going to be pretty good this year.
What was your take on Todd Gurley's pitch count?
How much did he play?
He didn't score 2 touchdowns that Malcolm Brown scored. That's how fucking much he played.
Whoever drafted Tom Gurley,
me,
is going to rip your freaking hair out.
Oh, he's on the bench already, dude. He went from the flex to the bench.
McVay's going to freaking drive people crazy.
I mean, listen, he wasn't Sonny Michel throwing up 2 points in week 1, but nonetheless, a little disappointing. And on the other side, on the opposite side of the fantasy spectrum, Christian McCaffrey showed why he was a top 2, 3 overall pick.
Dude, he is so good. It's unbelievable how freaking good this guy is. I mean, he's built like a brick shithouse. He's fucking huge. And he is just very impressive, and I don't know how long of a career this guy is going to have if the Panthers keep running this dude into the freaking ground. The Panthers haven't won a game, excluding the Week 17 win against the Saints, because the Saints weren't playing anybody. They haven't won a game in 8 fucking weeks.
It's wild, man. They just keep finding ways to lose, and the other game we touched on and we mentioned was the Chiefs over the Jags. You had Patrick Mahomes show why he was the MVP last year and performed well again in week 1. But on the other side, man, Nick Foles makes a hell of a pass, a touchdown pass, takes a hit, and he breaks his clavicle. The same one he broke in 2014 against the Houston Texans while he was with the Birds, if you remember. But I don't know, dude. I feel bad for Foles in Jacksonville. It's just one of those things where, Wentz is injury prone, not Foles, and here you go, first drive, and this shit happens.
All right, so I have 2 takes. First off, Chiefs. I had no idea Sammy Watkins was still playing in the NFL.
Balling.
I wrote him off those years in Buffalo where he would essentially have 1 good game and then he would have 7 shitty ones. And then all of a sudden, 3 touchdowns, 200 receiving yards. Like, what the fuck? And then Shady fucking plays well with the Chiefs. So the Chiefs have a fucking deep offense. If their defense can stick to it, they're probably looking like they're going to be the toughest matchup for the Patriots in the AFC. And then with Foles, dude, I feel bad. I'm trying to get out to all the Wentz people out there. Don't freaking be like, see, Wentz was the right choice. Don't do that, because I don't want karma coming back to bite us in the ass and then Wentz gets fucking hurt.
I don't want karma. You got to shut the hell up.
Yeah, everybody shut up, feel bad for Nick Foles, and say you're sorry.
Say your prayers, send them to Nick. Come on now.
Yeah, so, I mean, who's coming in and playing for Jacksonville?
Oh, God, I don't know, dude. It was the rookie. He had a hell of a game in regards to completion percentage and whatnot, but I believe they traded for, oh, God, who was it? I saw it. They traded for somebody to come in, and I don't know if he's going to start for the next couple of months or what, but it was a name you recognized as kind of a career backup who's been around, so we'll see how that pans out in Jacksonville. But the next 2 games on Sunday, man, both close matchups. The Chargers over the Colts in overtime. The Colts ended up being just okay with Jacoby Brissett. He played well after the Andrew Luck saga that was his retirement a few weeks ago. And then the Seahawks pull it out over the Bengals by 1 point. The Bengals hung in there, man.
Malik Hooker made a sweet one-handed interception in the red zone that got the Colts back into the game, keeping the Chargers from scoring. But if you're Melvin Gordon, that Chargers offense sure didn't really skip a beat with you not being on that field. So does he show up in the next couple of weeks? Like, hey, guys, I was just kidding.
So word is, I forget the exact week, but I think it's week 10, maybe when the trade deadline is, but he's got to show up by then in order for this year to count or accrue and for him to become an unrestricted free agent and not a restricted free agent. So
yeah, because this is a completely different situation than Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell was given the franchise tag. Melvin Gordon's just on in a contract, so he's not going to get anything.
Yeah, so we're going to see him eventually. Whether or not he's going to play, I don't think so, but he's going to have to report and show up. So I don't know, man. Maybe they get a little more loose with their demands when we get closer to the trade deadline here, and Howie can kind of revisit that and make a play.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And then the other game, the Seahawks, they really don't have many weapons now that Doug Baldwin's retired. And I feel like Doug Baldwin always made those plays that kind of kept them in the game. Like, oh, they do have receiving threats. Tyler Lockett, he's okay, but Russell, I think it's going to be another year where Russell's going to have to do his thing and kind of keep them in these games. But Jadeveon Clowney looked pretty good for the Seahawks, so they're going to have a good defense. And the Bengals are the Bengals. They gave it their best effort, but it'll probably be another 7-9, 6-10 season for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I think so. But John Ross could be a nice little fantasy pickup after a solid week one for you guys out there looking for waiver wire additions already.
For sure. Maybe Zach Taylor has found something in John Ross because he sure as hell hasn't done anything for the last 2 years.
We touched on the Birds. We got about 6 more left across the league here, finally transferring over to the 4:25 kickoffs. And the one that really stood out was the Cowboys over the Giants, man. Dak Prescott essentially went out there and said, "Fuck you, pay me."
Is this another overreaction? Are the Giants as bad as we all think?
We know the Giants are bad, just like we knew the Redskins were bad, and we also knew that Dallas was good like the Eagles are good. So this was kind of what we saw coming. It was just more of a affirmation that we were correct in both assessments.
Yes, and the Cowboys started off pretty good because what did you say in the Eagles pod? The Cowboys had Dak playing throughout the fucking preseason. So if you want to have a good start to the season, play your players and get them into game form. But Zeke back. Zeke seems like he didn't really miss a beat in Cabo. And Amari Cooper's looking like he's going to try to get paid now that Julio Jones is paid. So Cowboys are going to have to pay some players, and it'll be interesting.
I think so too, man. That's something to look forward to because their cap space is dwindling quickly, but I think they're all good investments. So it's definitely one of those things where it's something they have to do, but I think it's going to keep their team intact and at least solid over the next 3 to 5 years for sure. But the last 2 games here on Sunday afternoon, the 49ers beat the Buccaneers, and a surprise 49ers team looked pretty solid. I believe that was your pick for the playoffs coming out of the West. Not so much to win the division, but to be right there at the end of the year. And then you also had another tie, Pags, week 1. Unbelievable. The Lions and Cardinals played to a tie. Can we change overtime? Can we do something here, please?
We have to. I can't watch it. I came back home late, and I fucking threw that game on, and it's just fucking tough to watch, man. Like, can somebody just go for it instead of going like, yeah, we're going to tie and kick this field goal? Like, come on. Somebody just do what Mike Vrabel did to the Eagles last year and be like, fuck it, we're not tying, go for it, and then we have a winner.
You got to play college rules, even if it's not from the 25. 50? If it's from the 40 or 50. I mean, think about it, right? So the 25 plus 17, it's like 42 yards for a college kid. That's a pretty tough kick. And if you're going to describe a pretty tough kick in the NFL, maybe it's 55 yards. So minus 17. Yeah, so put it at the 40 or the 45. That way, if they go 3 downs, get 7 yards, you're at the 38, and you got yourself a 55-yarder. Or if you really want to make it challenging, put it at your own 40 or put it at the 50. Make them get at least 1 first down. But this whole time management thing and kicking field goals or punting the ball with 1 minute left, knowing you're not getting it back, it's just brutal, and it's not entertaining at all. And that's what the NFL is, right? It should be entertainment, and it's like, dude, this blows.
there's nothing good about a tie, especially when it gets later in the year and it's like, oh, do the Lions have a shot? Well, they're not 2 games back. They're 2.5 because of this tie right here. And it's like, all right, I need even numbers here, people. I don't need decimal points. I don't need to figure out what they need to do.
9-6-1 is better than 9-7.
Like, come on, man. Like, just give me a fucking winner.
Right.
It's frustrating. And
I'm
the Niners, Niners get the win. Jimmy G, he's back. I don't know how they're going to be now that Tevin Coleman's gone. Breda, if you got him on your roster, put him in. We'll see how they go as the time goes on, because I think the Bucs stink too. And Jameis Winston, I don't know when he's going to be penciled in as a backup, a career backup, but it sure looks like it's coming very soon.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get the big time money. He may get like one of those 1 or 2 year deals for like $15 a year type of thing.
Andy Daltons.
Yeah, somebody who's in a transition mode, kind of like how I talked about how Ryan Fitzpatrick or people like Case Keenum keep getting paid for a job, and I could see him kind of transition into that type of a role for sure. And Mariota's flirting with it too, those top 2 picks that year. But 3 games left, Pags, all prime time, all ridiculous storylines attached to them here. First, the Sunday night game, the Patriots absolutely dominate the Steelers, man. No Gronkowski, no problem, says a 42-year-old Tom Brady.
Yep, and they got AB on coming next week. The evil empire lives on, and it looks like they're going to be rolling again this year, because you look at the division that they're in, those teams stink. And it looks like another 11-5, 12-4 season for the Patriots. Cruising into the Foxborough for the playoffs, it's going to be...
I may take the over on 11-5, 12-4, man. Like you said, they're going to be 6-0 in the division. The Steelers look like a tough matchup. I mean, who are they going to lose to? 4 teams? I don't know, man. I don't know if I see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going to play the Chiefs. They're going to play the Ravens. They're going to lose to the Dolphins once this year. You know that.
That's this week, bro. That's week 2. AB in Miami.
They're going to be 1-1.
Let's go. I thought about that too. And I said, no way. They just can't. It's too early. Usually they lose this game, but not this year. I don't know, man. Miami is bad. Players are trying to leave by the bunches. The Patriots are getting AB. Dude, that game may be 100-2.
I'm looking at it a different way. The Dolphins were embarrassed week 1. AB is coming into the offense. Tom's going to try to freaking figure out how he's going to do it with Josh Gordon, AB, freaking Edelman. He's not going to be able to distribute the ball around. And then, boom, Dolphins get a win, and that'll be one of their only wins for the year.
That'll be one of the 2 they get, and they're 2-14. Holy shit.
Yeah.
But Monday Night Football, Pags, first one of the year, actually a doubleheader. Oh, dude, I hate these opening weekend. I mean, this 10 o'clock game, nobody's watching it anyway on the East Coast.
No.
Like, just play it Sunday afternoon. Make it happen. I understand why Hard Knocks. It was supposed to be Antonio Brown's debut with the Raiders, but you had the Saints come back and beat the Texans in the wildest game of opening weekend, man. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on that one. And then, as we just touched on, the Raiders actually win game 1, and I'm happy for them out there in Oakland over the Broncos.
Yeah, man, it was a tough showing to start for Drew. Drew threw a red zone pick. Texans go down, score on the next 3 drives, throwing to Hopkins twice. Freaking Watson diving into the end zone, somersaulting, getting a touchdown. I think he fucked his back up a little bit there. And then Drew Brees kind of settles in, brings them back, gets the lead. And then, in one of the most impressive drives I've ever seen, Deshaun Watson, 40-yard pass, Hopkins. Boom. Then, next play to Kenny Stills for a touchdown, and I should be like, wow, that was impressive. They scored. They took the lead. And then I'm like, wait, there's still 30, 40 seconds left, and there's Drew Brees on the other side of the field. And literally, it took Drew 25 seconds to get into field goal range, and then the dude drains a fucking 58-yarder for the win. Wild game.
Wild game, dude. And I don't know how the Saints defense lets either of those guys get open for the Texans. That was just unbelievable that they were anywhere in man coverage with no help over the top, anything like that. It was so stupid.
Why was DeAndre Hopkins single covered there? Like, I had no idea what was going on. And then the dude completely shanks the extra point, but then gets ran into, and he gets another shot at an extra point. So if the Saints don't drive down that field, that's the storyline this today.
The refs back in the limelight in New Orleans, man. I can only take so much.
Did you think that was rough? I mean,
it was running into the kicker, in my opinion.
They still get another shot at kicking it, don't they?
Yes, yeah. I thought they should have.
So,
he hit the guy. Anytime you touch him, it's a flag.
Why were they making it such a big deal?
Because I think they removed the running into the kicker man because it's a judgment call, so I think it's 15 every time. But yes, it was a flop, but there was contact made. And anytime there's contact made, it's a flag. It's like touching the quarterback in the head. However egregious it is, you got to let the guy finish his swing because he could blow out a knee or an ankle. And the moment it happened, I said, oh, there's a flag. You know what I mean? Like, it was automatic in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what Booger's talking about. He's like, I don't agree with this. I'm like, Booger, shut up. That was a penalty.
That was a penalty. But the last game of the week, Raiders beat the Broncos. And good for the Raiders, man, after all that bullshit they dealt with AB.
Derek Carr looked good. The rookie, Josh Jacobs, balled out. My wife was sitting there needing 24 points from Josh Jacobs. Got her 27, and she gets a fantasy win to start the year. So, good showing. Broncos, not so much. The flag attack, struggling. It might be a long year in Denver as well.
I think so, dude, for sure. Excellent week one in the NFL. Let's do a brief preview here of week 2, Pags, since the next time we'll talk to the listeners will be after week 2. And after just doing a quick run through here, man, only 3 games featuring teams that are 1-0 versus 1-0. You have the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers in what should be a good one.
Tied last year. That was one of the first game ties.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
Yeah, I expect Minnesota to come back to earth a little bit. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to fly around. I think the Packers' defense is going to come back to life a little bit as well. So that should be an entertaining one. What are some of the others? Let's
see. The other 2 are the 1-0 Chiefs versus the 1-0 Raiders in Oakland.
Hey-o, that one's going to be a blowout. Chiefs will whop them, and everyone will be like, oh, the Raiders aren't as good as we thought.
And the last one here is a rematch of the NFC title game with the Saints traveling to Los Angeles this time for a 4:25 kickoff on Sunday.
That's not the Sunday night game?
The Sunday night game is your Philadelphia Eagles at the Atlanta Falcons.
Forgot about that.
This guy. Dude. Monday night, Browns, Jets, 0-1 versus 0-1. Gee, looking forward to that. Oh, Thursday, 0-1 versus 0-1. Bucks, Panthers. Way to go, NFL. Putting your best games on prime time.
Panthers?
Jeez.
What the fuck?
Oh, dude, it's brutal.
Dude, that Rams-Saints game is going to be fun to watch. I wish it was in New Orleans to see all these fans going nuts. But it would be hilarious if they put the same reffing crew on the game.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Just throw the same guys out there and be like, yep, fuck you, Saints fans.
They're in safe territory now out in Los Angeles. But
yeah, so.
Oh, man. Week 2 will tell us basically if week 1 was more of an outlier or if it'll be more of a pattern. I'm looking forward to kind of checking in on some of these teams that we thought may have been good, like Atlanta. We're going to find out against the Eagles if they're any good or if they're going to be one of those teams that struggles. And the Steelers and if they can bounce back, and the Browns, and man, there's just a lot to look forward to as we head to the second week of the NFL season.
Well, every week is a great week now because we got football. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Absolutely. But you listeners out there, please rate, comment, subscribe to the podcast. We're on all the social media. Too Close to Call Cast, the number 2 both times on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, as well as we have a voicemail hotline. We got a voicemail this morning from a listener out there talking about the NFL and whether or not it's rigged. And we're going to be diving into a few more voicemails on a Hotline Extravaganza episode coming out here shortly. So if you guys want to be heard, make sure you call the hotline and we can get you in here by the end of the week and the release of the second episode of the Hotline Extravaganza.
It's going to be fun, guys. We will talk to you guys soon. Keep enjoying these next couple days without football because football's right around the corner in 2 more days. We'll talk to you guys soon. Later.
Peace.